And we are back for another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast. As always, brought to you by the Ausmerican Aces. My name's Adam, and of course, as always, across on the camera, Joshy Dunkley. How we going, mate?
I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you going?
Going really good. Off air, we're just trying on hats, and it's fair to say the reason why I don't wear hats is because I look absolutely horrendous. And actually, a matter of fact, you said, which this isn't a dig for what it's worth at Jack Frost, but you said that, and I used to play with Jack Frost, played at the Pies with him. You said I was a spitting image of Jack Frost with a hat on, so maybe afterwards I can try a hat on and see what people think.
Well, we'll get the photo out there of you wearing it just before we went on air here, of you wearing a hat, and we'll see what the fans think, because it was a spitting image. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, I think it's probably because of the pale skin, and when I put the hat on, it looks like I'm bald. And Frosty was he used to have like the crew cut, and well, I think he still does, to be honest. So anyway, pretty funny. How's your week been anyway for someone who's obviously not playing at the moment? I can imagine it's been pretty frustrating from a footy point of view. But what have you been up to throughout the week?
Yeah, it's been a different week, as I sort of touched on last week, because I didn't play last week either. But yeah, just doing rehab and training probably a lot more than what you used to in season, because you've still got to keep up the level of fitness that you carry when you get injured. So a lot of off legs, as we talked about last week, bike sessions and stuff, but I sort of ventured away from the bikes and started doing some swimming. So the swimming sort of took over, and now that I'm back running and fully training, which is good, yeah, it's been a bit more normal the last couple of days. So it was a bit of a quiet weekend, mate. Did a big session on Saturday and then kicked back and watched all the footy and everything that went down on the weekend, and recovered, and then got up for Monday training again to see the boys. And it's a bit weird when everyone travels away, because you lose touch with, all the coaches, all the staff, all the players, and then when they come back, it's just great to see them all. So it's been nice to spend the last couple of days with them.
You mentioned swimming. You're a good swimmer, weren't you? Or aren't you?
I was all right. Yeah, I went to my best accomplishment in swimming was actually backstroke. I think I came ninth in Victoria once when I was about under 13s or something.
So you're under 13s Victorian swimmer, and you were the state second or whatever state champion for badminton under 13 as well, weren't you?
No, so I came ninth in Victoria, so I didn't represent Victoria. Okay. But the badminton thing, yes, I did. I represented Victoria as number one. Who would have thought?
At the same, so as a 13-year-old as well, right?
Yeah.
You could have represented Australia at the Olympics and the Com Games. And speaking of Com Games, did you see that Melbourne have pulled the pin?
I have. I saw that today. That's pretty bad, I think, from the state government. What do you think?
Oh, I'm pretty flat about it, because, well, I'll be 33 by then. Hopefully, I'm still in the AFL. That'd be nice, but I thought maybe with a bit of pool and being an AFL player, we might be able to go to some of the events. And it's always been a dream of mine to be able to watch actual events, like athletic events. And the last Com Games actually that I went to, 2018, was up on the Gold Coast with Kimmy. Kimmy was playing netball, but I wasn't able to stay and watch any of the running or anything. So it was something that I was actually looking forward to. Oh, well, it's a bit of a shame. I'll have to wait to, I think 2032 is when they have the Brisbane Olympic Games. So who knows, mate? Maybe once you'll be retired by then, I reckon, but you might be able to delve into the badminton side of things and potentially represent Australia at the 32 Olympic Games.
No way. I was just going to say that you might be getting in the wrestling ring, mate, and taking something different up.
It's pretty funny, because we did obviously we always send in questions on our socials and get some great questions, and we're actually going to answer some questions later on, quite a few, but quite common questions that I get are like about wrestling, my favorite wrestlers, if I still watch wrestling, what was my favorite wrestling storyline in the WWE when I was a kid growing up, and it's pretty funny. But it would be funny. But I reckon you'd probably have me in the wrestling side of things, because isn't that the one thing that you hang your hat on when it comes to you versus me? Because mine and your sumo wrestling battles we used to have at the footy club.
Yeah, absolutely. That's probably one of the best things that I've got on you. And obviously not playing at the Dogs anymore, so you can't get me in the wrestling ring unless you come up here and wrestle me in Brisbane. So I'm happy with that, mate.
I might have to wait. Oh, mate, hopefully we can meet each other in the finals. That'd be nice. Obviously, if we both make it, but maybe we'll have to get the sumo wrestling going on the captain's run I'll join them. I'll come join you and wrestle in the middle of the circle like we used to. But for what it's worth, I only lost on a technicality. When it was a pure strength battle, I wasn't losing.
No, that's so wrong. That is so wrong. If that was the case, you would have been able to beat me a couple of, like, we did it how many times? We would have done it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah,
and
you
I
won
beat
every
you
time.
hands down every time. So you had your chance, mate. It's gone.
You just
get over it.
You just use your smarts against me, which is annoying, which is very annoying. But before we get into the footy, as we always do, a couple of things. Tommy, our great mate Tommy, you're obviously a massive part of our show, and we love him at Ausmerican Aces, and he's helped us out enormously this year. He's left us freaking mid-year to go on this unbelievable European holiday. So he's left you and me to take up the reins, which is, we did it last year, but it was smooth sailing all the way through to, I think this is our 19th or 20th episode. He's left us.
Yeah, I know. He actually sent us a WhatsApp before and then deleted the message. So I'm a bit concerned about what he's up to at the moment. Tommy, he's a good man. We love him. He's having a great time. He deserves a break. So we get around him and have a bit of a laugh. But it's, I think most importantly, he has a crack for us. So we appreciate everything he does. And when he told us that he was going away, we got around him. We said, make sure you enjoy it. So hope he's having a good time over there.
Yeah, me too. One thing that he'd be proud of, which is the other thing I was going to mention before we get into the footy. I actually did my first proper, and you'll laugh at this, did my first proper fantasy draft. So you know how I've been doing mock drafts, right, for 4 months in the NFL? I actually did my first proper one today. I'm in 6 leagues this year, and I know I say it every week, but we're going to get to a point in the year, maybe next month when the preseason games are around, we're going to have a whole segment on the NFL. So you need to do your studying and your research and preparing for our couple leagues we're in together. But I actually did my first fantasy draft today.
I don't have to do my study, mate, because you'll just talk for the whole time, which you normally do anyway. So that's all right. I'll just sit here and listen to you just blabber on about NFL.
No, it's the Ads and Dunks podcast. And my goal this year, because last year, for the people who listened, when we did talk NFL, you were right, because I'm very opinionated and strong in my opinions when it comes to the NFL and the NBA, for what it's worth. You're going to have a massive say this year on NFL fantasy, because you won last year's NFL fantasy in the big league that our great mate Tommy hosts every year. So you do know you're in NFL. You just choose not to pipe in as much.
Yeah, I'm a quiet achiever, mate. You like to speak out and open about, your thoughts and feelings and your emotions, and whereas I just like to, get it done behind the scenes, like always. So that was my approach this year. And
speaking of NFL, actually, I know we're blabbering on a bit, but that's okay. We love doing it. Have you seen that new documentary on Netflix?
No, I haven't yet. I've been seeing it pop up everywhere, but apparently it's really good.
Okay, so do me a favor, watch it this week, within the week, and we're going to talk about it next week, because I've had a lot of questions already about it, because obviously send through our questions, and I feel like it'd be pretty cool for us to talk about it and give a little bit insight on how we would feel if we were, I guess, tracked throughout a year and seeing the ebbs and flows of a season. But mate, it's unbelievable. The one thing that I can't wait for you to see is the actual play calling that they do. You know how they're on the headset and they're talking to the quarterback coach and the head coach, mate, the play set, oh my God, it's unbelievable. Can't wait for you to see it, because I could only imagine me being in that situation and you being in that situation, and imagine you've got a mic in your ear and you've got Fags talking to you throughout the whole game at stoppages and whatnot, and telling you, this is what we want to do at this stoppage. This is how everyone needs to be set up. Go. You've got 5 seconds. How do you reckon you'd go?
Imagine that. That'd be pretty hectic. Like, especially with, I feel like the coaches over there in the NFL are way more calm and nothing phases them. Whereas over here in the AFL, like, if you make a mistake, you always see vision of coaches like cracking it. Imagine that in the year. Like, bloody hell, Adam, what are you doing?
Yeah, no, that would be quite funny. And Bevo would get pretty frustrated because, I could imagine with how we're playing at the moment, there'd be some times where he'd be saying that. So, yes, I can only imagine how that would be. But I'm glad we're not mic'd up, because people do say players who, and I'm not sure, you might have experienced this, because I've never been in a coach's box or like next to the coach's box when I've been out injured. I've always sat away. I've heard from players who have sat in the coach's box that they never want to do that again because of what comes out of the coach's mouth.
I think I've had the experience. So when I did my shoulder, I came to Port Adelaide. Remember when you were crook that time, and I came over and I watched as it was like a couple of weeks after I did my shoulder, and I sat in the coach's box, and yeah, it is a very eye-opening experience. But I think for me, from my perspective, I actually found it very worthwhile because you see the game the way that the coach and the coaches see the game, like from up there. So, and how passionate they are, and things they talk about are like things that you can actually use on field. So I found it a really good lesson for me. Like, that was my opinion. But yeah, there were times where you hear so much stuff, you're like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't say that to whoever it was after the game or whatever. But yeah, it is good. It's a worthwhile experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, people have said it's definitely an eye opener, which is pretty crazy. One other thing I wanted to mention, one more thing, promise you, before footy, is it's a little bit of or just something that I'm an ambassador for. So I'm an ambassador for Left Right Counselling, which is that organisation that helps kids between the age of 13 and really 25 plus who have struggled with mental health issues and just challenges in general. And it's a non-profitable organisation that one of my great mates has been the founder of. And as I said, I'm an ambassador for it. It's something that I'm extremely proud of. I'm heading down tomorrow to do a clinic for people who want to come down, and it's just something that I'm excited about doing. And I know a lot of the listeners, always ask us about stuff that we do away from footy. And I thought it was a good opportunity for me now just to say that I'm excited about doing it tomorrow. If you're in the Somerville area, I know this gets released at 7:30 on a Wednesday. This will be around that time when I'm in Somerville. So if you hear it, bang, jump out to Somerville and I'll be there because I'm excited about getting down there and spending some time with the kids. So yeah, going forward, I'll be doing more clinics and I'm talking about it a little bit more. So I'm really excited about Left Right Counselling organisation. It's something that is I'm proud about. So yeah, mate, just a little pump up that I want to do and looking forward to tomorrow. But we'll move into the footy. We'll talk with your game first because both of our games were extremely close, lost by the barest of margins, both in unique situations. Yours was probably a lot more unique considering, the fact that you guys are up by, I think, 20 points with about 7 minutes to go. And I can only imagine, 28, can only imagine how you were feeling sitting on the couch. I believe you're sitting on the couch watching or probably standing up. Run us through how you were feeling and, just the fallout from the game and the last couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably the way that everyone saw it, the way I saw it was a great game of football. I thought it was finals like footy early on in the season, but still it's probably 6 rounds to go or whatever it is now. But it's great for our young guys to get that kind of experience, I think. But the game was it was a weird one because they kicked the first 4. We then took over the game and played some really exciting footy up until 5 minutes or so into the last quarter, and then unfortunately let it slip. But mate, I've never barracked the way that I was barracking at home on the couch ever. It was just insane. Like, it was one of those games where the adrenaline was pumping. After the game, I literally felt like I'd played. Like, I'd try to go to sleep and it was like I couldn't go to sleep for like 2 hours, and I had to be up at 5:30 the next morning for rehab. So, it was tough to watch because, when you sit back and you're watching from home and you just can't do anything, there's things that you see on the screen. You're like, gosh, get on, like, do that, do this, like man up or whatever it might be. So, it was a difficult one to watch, but as I said, I think the whole group will take a lot out of it. And I think the most exciting part about it was that we played some really good footy on the MCG against a really good team. And I feel like that's going to hold us in good stead later in the season because that experience, it hurts. Yes, it does. Even though I wasn't playing, it hurts me for the boys to go through something like that. And obviously the team that I play for. So, I do feel though it's going to help us towards the later end of the year. And we sat down and talked about it on Monday in the review. And we watched a lot of good vision, watched some areas for improvement, but we haven't been in many close games this year. So that type of experience will help us moving forward. So, as I said, one that we probably could have got that didn't eventuate, but we look forward to, using that moving forward. And we've got a big game this week against the Cats, so look forward to that challenge.
Yeah, I could only imagine how you're feeling, and I couldn't agree more in terms of the experience that a lot of the, not just the young guys, but all the guys will get from the game. And you mentioned obviously how pleasing it was, the way you're in front, ultimately right to the very, very end, and they kicked the goal to hit the lead. But I think what was extremely impressive as well is the way Melbourne started, obviously was very ominous, and it looked pretty dangerous for you guys. And the talk about being in Melbourne and playing at the G, the fact that you're able to come back and peg it your way and just play better footy right up till that last quarter, and then obviously lose. I think, as you said, there's a lot of areas where you can take from that game and hold in good stead going forward for when you get that opportunity, being in that position. And who knows, could be this week against Geelong, who are absolutely flying at the moment. But yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you were saying. Rude of me not to ask as well. I know I asked off air, how's your body feeling for this week? You just mentioned you've done quite a bit of rehab. Are you in line to play? I know there's a few more days, but yeah, how's the body feeling?
Yeah, it's feeling good. I completed the main session today, so got another one to tick off before the game, but all things are pointing in the right direction, and calf feels great. So looking forward to hopefully being out there on the weekend, but touch wood, I've got to get through the next few sessions before then. So exciting. It's like you're a little kid again, mate. Like I trained today and I was like running around like that excited that I was out there, and you just feel like you've been away from it for so long when it's been 2 weeks. So feeling good and positive. It's a different one because I've never experienced a soft tissue before, and I was actually chatting to you about it on my way home tonight after a clinic, just about little things that you think about, and it's just in your mind because you're like, oh, is that sore? Is that awareness, or what's going on there? But it's just the way that it is, and that's just what you got to go through to get yourself back to playing at that elite level. So look forward to hopefully being out there on the weekend. Yeah,
that's great to hear. And unfortunately, I know that feeling. I know it quite often because I've had my fair share of soft tissue injuries. But no, we're all looking forward to you getting back out there. It's been a bit weird you not playing because you're not one who tends to miss much footy other than it being a traumatic injury like your shoulder you had a couple of years ago, and you obviously had your Cindy, before I was here, and a couple of other things. But yeah, it's a bit weird not watching it. And me watching the Brisbane Lions every week, it's hard watching. I'm almost like, why am I watching this? You're not even playing. What's the point of me watching? But no, it'd be good for you when you get out there. But as you said, it's something that you don't take for granted, eh? When you're away from the group and you see games that you've seen on the weekend, for instance, where you've lost pretty much the last kick of the game, it makes you not want to take that for granted. And the fact that going out there playing week in, week out is your job, but something that you love doing.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's the main thing. Like we all love doing what we do, and when that gets taken away from you, I feel like that's when you start to learn how much you do love the game. So looking forward to getting back out there and doing what I want to do and what I love doing. So looking forward to it, mate. But let's talk about your game. We've talked enough about ours and this week and stuff. So yours was a big Thursday night clash against the Swans. Looked pretty good for most of the night. Probably the second quarter was one, because I was watching your game too, mate, as always. One that probably let you down a little bit. How was halftime, and what was the approach after that? And just talk about everything that went.
It's frustrating as we've played. Yeah, I don't know what the stats are, but I would think we're one of the best first quarter teams in the competition. We seem to get off the blocks really quick, and that's a credit to the guys' mindset and wanting to start well and really set the tone for the game. The challenge is obviously the second quarter, and as you mentioned, in areas of the game where we just have lapses where we allow teams to just pile on goals. I sound like I'm a broken record at the moment because I've been mentioning this pretty much every week, but it's what the reality is, and it's the most frustrating thing because it's never effort. It's never, effort based. And as a player, and you can only imagine what the coaches think, but they never want to coach effort. And the fact that it's never effort for us is a good thing, but it's also frustrating because where we are lacking is probably the concentration side of things and the urgency side of things when it comes to defending really well and, ball in hand decision making and whatever it may be. Examples being, it was real wet and slippery. I'm not sure if you could tell from from sitting at home or watching, but it was really wet and slippery. It was one of those games where couldn't overhandball the ball. And yeah, there was multiple times where we had players overhandball the ball. I remember a time where I overhandballed it and it was just a shallow turnover and they were able to win the ball back in a spot where, you don't want them to win back. So one of those kind of games. And I feel like in the first quarter, we just weren't doing that. We're getting the ball and getting it deep to our forwards or giving our forwards an opportunity versus in the second quarter, and times in the third and fourth, we kind of went away from that. And that's the urgency concentration side of things, which is probably the most frustrating thing. So that's probably where we fell apart a little bit. I mean, pleased that, they I think 14, 15 points up in the third and then we're able to, wrestle that back. And most of the time when you play against our footy club, interstate, we're quite often outnumbered with the fans. And that was, again, very similar on the weekend. Sydney had a very strong crowd there and they were clearly riding their momentum in that little third quarter period. So, yeah, pleasing that we're able to wrestle it back off the back of, enormous efforts by Naughty up forward and Bonte inside and Libber inside. Chile was enormous in the ruck as well. So pleasing with that aspect. Just the fact that we couldn't get the job done is probably the most frustrating thing because we know how important now winning is because you could throw a blanket over the 5th to, I think, the 15th. It's pretty much 1.5 games in between it. And, every single game has got to be finals-like build-up and intensity for us. And that's what it's got to be like for us going forward. So, yeah, it's a frustrating result for us, mate, because, we pride ourselves on winning close games and wanting to be one of those teams that wins close games regularly. And the fact that we haven't been able to do that, especially the last, has been really, really frustrating.
Yeah, you touched on Naughty playing his role up forward. It was great to see him back to his best. I think we know that he's a superstar of the game, and people have often or lately sort of talked about Jamara being the number one forward, but I think we all know deep down that Big Naughty does a lot of the work down there, and it was good to see him get a bit of reward for, I'm sure, the effort that he's putting in behind the scenes at the footy club.
Yeah, Naughty, the obviously there's no fluke or no shock to me why he's so good at what he does. What impresses me the most, and you quite often see these with a lot of great forwards that, I've played with for sure, is his defensive side of the game is probably as good as anyone's.
Yep.
His repeat efforts is probably as good as anyone's I've seen, and his ability to quickly get up off the ground when he's gone for a big mark. I mean, it separates himself, I believe, from being a really good player to an absolute great or a star. So, and the best thing about Naughty, he's only 23, I think, so he's still a baby and still has so much learning to do. So, I couldn't agree more. When he's up and about, it's nice. It's just we just need a bit of luck sometimes going inside, and it didn't help us. Sammy Darcy going out real early with his corky. It's one of the worst injuries I've seen in terms of trauma to a body part. It's his leg got a massive corky, and he was in quite a amount of pain. And he was trying to run after half time in the warm up, and you could just see, like, mate, there was no way he was going to be able to. It's one of those real deep corkies. So, yeah, that wasn't ideal. We had a couple guys. Jimmy O'Donnell went down as well. We've had some guys, being unlucky with their continuity and not being able to build it. So, as you know, when teams, play consistently good footy, they need a bit of luck with it as well. And I feel like we've been a little bit unlucky in that aspect. Baz as well. Obviously, Baz didn't play, and he's been a bit crook throughout the week. So last week. So, yeah, that side of things has been a little bit annoying as well. But, yeah, you can't control those side of things. And, all in all, it was just a disappointing result. I mean, there's a lot of positives to take out of it, but disappointing result. We got to move quickly onto, the game this Friday against Essendon.
Yeah, I was going to say before we move on, I talked about us sort of reviewing the game and how, yes, we looked at some positives, but we also looked at some of the improvements. I suppose for us, it was the first quarter or the majority of the first quarter and the last, 20 minutes of the game. We looked at that and said, you want to get better at this, this, and this. And yes, we don't want to make mistakes, but I want to know how you guys reviewed your game. Like, was it something you sit down and you say, boys, we probably we were good enough tonight, but we didn't quite get there because this happened, or is it more just negative stuff, or what? How'd you look at it?
No, the thing is, a lot of the times you look at key indicators and areas in the game where if you were to win it, you generally win the game. So, for an example, you win contest the ball and clearance, you're a big chance to win the game. You win the inside 50 count by, maybe 10 plus, you generally win the game. And yeah, we comfortably won contest the ball clearance. We won inside 50 count. I think we won the territory battle in terms of percentage played in our half, and we weren't able to win the game. So you can't, you have to acknowledge, where we did do well. So in terms of the reviewing, we review our stoppage structures and what worked well for us, and, why we won clearance, why we won stoppage, why we were able to be effective. We kicked, I think 3 goals from stoppage. I think just from centre bounce, actually 3 goals from centre bounce, which is pretty good, which is really good. And, you can't discredit that. So in terms of reviewing, we've got to keep reiterating why this is important, why we're doing this well. But as I touched on before, in the review, and as I said, there's got to be areas where we've got to improve. The biggest thing for us was that concentration, urgency factor, in particular on defense. And so we reviewed a couple of clips where, the first quarter where we're in the right position defensively. And this is, I don't mean defenders. This is like as a 18. Defensively, we're in the right position in the first quarter, where in the second quarter when they're kicking goals, we're just a little bit off with our positioning and where we want to be. And I reckon most clubs would probably be like that, tend to be like that. So that's kind of more where our review led to, because we know if we're just that little bit better with our concentration, we're going to be in a good position to sustain what we're doing. And that was, we're up by 4 goals at one stage, and then we allowed them to kick a goal off, poor positioning, poor decision-making. And I think that's another area for us that we're always continually trying to improve on, because we get our fair share of the ball, but it's just about making the right decision when it needs to be made. And again, in the game, there was times, as I touched on, where we overused the ball, and, got to rewatch this, look up the ground, see what our forwards are doing, because we get the ball in this position and then you decide to handball again. You know how much that throws the forwards out of whack. You know how much it's going to throw us out of whack defensively in terms of being set up off that. And again, I'm talking a lot of footy here and talk details, but I know our fans like listening to that. But that's kind of the side of things to review. And then individually, you obviously talk about with your line coach about what you want to do personally and areas that you need to improve on. And, as I said, for me, there was times where I decided to, use my hands rather than just take the territory, when I should have just taken territory depending on the game. A couple of times where I lost my footing, trying to, withstand tackles and stand up in tackles. And that's just this little insight on what I wanted to improve from the game, and going to see my coaches and trying to improve on that throughout the week and then take it into the next game. But yeah, that's kind of what the week's been like, but that's what most weeks are like for us.
Yeah, it's a good insight. I feel like you sort of touched on it there when you talked about, reaction time. I feel like that's a big one, and the quick thinking and making a decision's all a part of that. So for the young kids out there or our listeners, I think that's one of the most important things, is how quick you can make a decision, but also the right decision. Like at times you're gonna mess it up, but the more you can put yourself in that position and challenge yourself, the better you're going to be. So it's a great insight, Adzi. Well done on that one. Let's move on. Let's move on to this week. It's a big game for you boys on Friday night. You talked about, every game being gold, and, in the run for finals now, but we've only got 6 weeks left, and everything's up for grabs. So how are you looking at that one, and what are you feeling about the Bombers? They were pretty disappointing against the Cats on the weekend.
Yeah, I think, that's clearly an outlier about how well they've been playing, and credit to the Cats as well. That's a clear indication of how they've been playing. So, disregarding that game on the weekend, they've been extremely impressive. The Bombers have, they move the ball as well as anybody. I think they're as good as anybody moving the ball in terms of possessing it and, kicking it at all costs, and hitting targets at all costs, essentially, rather than, trying to fast play the game and really take you on off halfback. And that's probably a reflection of their ball users and guys like Zach Merritt, Darcy Parish, Mason Redmond, The list goes on. The guys that are quality ball movers. So it's going to be an interesting battle. It's something that both teams have to be up for. I think we're on the same amount of points, both of us. I think they're just ahead of us, or we might just be ahead of them now on percentage. But it's something that we're going to build up enormously inside. We have to, because internally, I should say, because we have to. We've got to approach this game like our season depends on it, because every game is important, and that's what we're going to do this week. We've got to be able to take their strengths away, and as I said, that's their strengths. They'll just chip the ball their way through you and give their forwards a chance to score against you, and we just can't allow that. So I believe if we continue the way we've been playing around the footy, which is the contest side of things, and that's led by Bont and Libba inside, we've just got to fine-tune the way we want to go inside 50, and then, as I've touched on for the last 20 minutes, the way we want to defend. And that'll go a long way. The Marvel Stadium's obviously a fast track, which, I think suits both sides. We've got to be able to utilise that for us in terms of how we want to play. I feel like it really suits how we want to play, and we've got to be aggressive and, bold with the way we want to move the footy. So, fully expect that to be the case on the weekend, on Friday, fully anticipate for us to do that. Everyone's going to come, with the right attitude and mindset. We had a great main session yesterday. We've already, not moved on from the week, because you want to keep learning throughout the week from the previous week, but we've firmly got our sights set on the Friday game, and it just can't come quick enough for us, because we just want to put our best foot forward. We want to make each other proud, but we want to make our fans and coaches proud of the kind of footy that we know we can play. And, it's a big week for us this week, which is going to build into a big 6 weeks for us, which hopefully leads into a second season, as you call it, which I like to call the finals, obviously. So, yeah, it'll be a big week for us.
Yeah, it's going to be a huge, big Friday night game again. Another primetime slot. It's that's your third in a row, isn't it? Friday night, Thursday night, Friday night. That's pretty cool.
Yes, and it's 8-day break for us too. So it's been, it's been nice that we're able to have an 8-day break. The Bevo and the coaches and the staff gave us actually the weekend off. Essentially, we had to kind of do our own training on the Saturday, which is great, because it is always refreshing when you're able to go away for a couple of days. Well, not go away, but not, I guess, follow a program per se, and just kind of do your own program around your own time. So, yeah, it's been nice and refreshing. As I said, great session yesterday for the boys. We're really looking forward to to getting there on Friday. But what about you, mate? You obviously said you need to tick off one more session. Fingers crossed you do. Got no doubt you will. Fingers crossed. Massive game, enormous game. Geelong are obviously playing some great footy. I feel like they've definitely found their mojo back. A lot of talk around them about being up there with Collingwood and Port Adelaide as a 3 informed teams, and that's that's a big thing, because obviously you guys in Melbourne are flying as well. So yeah, how do you see that one playing out? And you must be excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. You touched on them being back in form, and I feel like they're well and truly back to their best. They played really well on the weekend against the Bombers, didn't give an inch, which is a tough thing to do against a quality outfit that you just mentioned have played some good footy over the last couple of months. So we're going to be expecting their best. I say it every time. The contest is probably where it's going to be won and lost, because we're both kind of territory teams, and we like to have the ball in our front half and generate forward half turnovers and whatnot. So as most teams do these days, but I feel like this weekend is going to be a huge challenge for us. So it's an exciting opportunity. Again, reigning premiers will build it up like it's going to be a finals-like game. So, looking forward to that challenge. I feel like their list, and they're getting all their players back now, and it's a similar sort of story to last year. So we're going to have to be at our very best ourselves to take it up to them. But fingers crossed we turn up and, get the big Gabba crowd behind us again. It's always nice playing at home in front of a packed house and making it a bit of a daunting experience for the opposition. So looking forward to that challenge and the excitement around the game, because it's a different time slot. It's like 4:35, I think, on Saturday. So it feels like it should be a Saturday night or something, but it's an afternoon game, which is funny. But look forward to it, as I mentioned, and hopefully I'm back out there and can do my bit for the boys.
Yes, I agree with you. Fingers crossed, it's going to be an absolute ripping game. How do you preview a game like this week? I mean, obviously you preview probably similarly every week, but when you're coming up against an opposition like Geelong, who are the reigning premiers, but are playing really, really good football. How do you give the listeners a bit of an insight? How would you preview a team? Not just Geelong, but most teams, but in particular the way the Geelong are playing and how intimidating coming up against a team like Geelong are. How do you preview that throughout the week?
Yeah, we always get together it's normally a Tuesday for a 7-day break. And if we're playing Saturday, we'll have a Tuesday session, but we'll also have Tuesday like opposition review. So then, sets up your whole week to know how they play and what they want to do. So for a team like the Cats, we had a look at them today. We look at every team on a day like today and go through and sort of pinpoint things that they're really good at and how we can sort of minimize the impact that they have in those areas. And, looking at the Cats over the last few weeks, as we sort of touched on, like they've been going really well in majority of the areas that you look at. So it's hard to find something that they've been not so good at over the past couple of weeks, especially. So it is a difficult one to review, especially the teams, that are playing good footy. So for us, we're just going to have to back ourselves in. Obviously, we're going to have plans in place that might minimize those areas that I just talked about. But all in all, I think a lot of teams these days back in their structures and the way that they play and hope that takes it right up to the opposition. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's the main thing. We want to turn up. We want to play our best footy, and hopefully that, with all the other things that we're putting in place, that can help us get over the line.
Yeah, no, it's a good little insight. It's great. And you're right, it's going to be hard because there's not really a floor at the moment in the way Geelong are playing, so it's going to be a interesting battle for you. I wanted to ask you, and I know you always ask me about big footy talking points. I'm going to ask you this time. Maxi Gawn and Brodie Grundy, I wouldn't say situation. It's not really a situation. It's just obviously Brodie Grundy is a premier All-Australian, great ruckman, great player. What's your thoughts on all of it?
Oh, I mean, if a player's out of form, and I don't know if he's been, because I haven't really watched him very closely. I don't know if he's been starkly out of form, but they've obviously made that call to send him back to the VFL. It's a weird one from my perspective because they sort of got him to the club to be that forward ruck or ruck forward with Big Gawny. But then you watch on the weekend or Friday night and you see Gawny dominate a game like he did. And to be honest, without him out there, like they would have been probably in trouble against our boys. So he played one of the games for the ages, in my opinion. He was incredible. And to have, nearly 30 touches and I think around 20 hit-outs to advantage and win the hit-out count by X amount. I'm not sure what it was in totality, but he literally dominated that game. If he doesn't get 3 votes in the Brownlow medal for that game, like I'd be blown away personally. I think he should get 3 votes by an absolute. He was good, but mate, without Max Gawn, they lose that game. So in my opinion, I feel like the Brodie maxing, it could work. I still think it can work, but at the moment it's not. So for Brodie, he's got to go back and play VFL. I think it's probably a good call by the footy club because Max showed on the weekend what he can do as a sole ruckman with getting a little chop out. But that combination, I remember you and I were talking about it when it went through. It was like, geez, that's going to be pretty powerful and no one's going to be able to stop that. So once they get it up and going, look out. Yeah,
see, I'm still a firm believer that it's can work. And it's funny because when something comes up like this, obviously, and that's Brodie not playing, which is a big deal because Brodie's a champion. He's an absolute champion, one of the best people that I know. And, Brodie's best footy is as good as anybody's I've ever seen. And I love the guy to bits. But as I was saying, it's funny when something like this comes up, everyone just talks about it. And a lot of the times it's like in a negative way and you don't really hear too much positive about it. And, here we don't really like to throw negative stuff out, you and I. We're a big advocate for the players. And And I love how Melbourne have come out and given their support to Brodie and wrapped their arms around him, and it's great. And you can genuinely sense the care and love that they have for him. And, I'm just a firm believer that it still can work and is still extremely intimidating. I mean, if we were playing Melbourne this week and knowing Gawny and Brodie were both playing, it'd be, I could only imagine Chile would be, preparing himself for an absolute blockbuster game between them both. But it'd be very daunting to come up against those two still at their best. So I'm on Brodie's side. I'm hoping there's some dominant performances wherever he plays, and then he can get back in and play. But I thought it was a bit of an interesting one because there's been quite a bit of talk about it.
Yeah, there has been, but as I said, I feel like they've probably made the right call in the end. But I'm sure Brodie will be back in soon, and they'll be working that right combination very well, and the rest of the competition will be a bit nervous about it, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree. I want to do something nice and it doesn't have to be too quick, but a little bit fun for us both. There's obviously 6 weeks to go, but I wanted to do our update or our predictions on Brownlow, Coleman, Rising Star, and a smoky All-Australian selection. And then we'll wait to see what our viewers say throughout the week. And this is obviously not right now. In 6 weeks' time, you're predicting who's going to be top 3 in the Rising Star, top 3 Coleman medal, and top 3 Brownlow medalists. So we'll start off with the Rising Star for you.
Oh, geez, you put me under the pump a little bit. I'm going to say Ashy, Sheasel, and one bloke that I think's not getting enough attention in the Rising Star race is another teammate of mine, and that's Darcy Wilmot.
Has he been nominated? Yeah,
he's been nominated, but
yeah,
he gets no attention from any kind of media source or whatever. But personally, he is like one of the best young players I have seen. He's going to be a star, and no one talks about him. So I'm going to throw him in there. Do
you think because Ashy's there, and you think that's probably why?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think like you look at Ashy, you look at Moddy, and then it's like even Jasper Fletcher is playing some really good footy for us at the moment. So he's another one that probably goes under the radar because of Ashy, and Ashy being probably the main man that should win the Rising Star, I'm going to say.
So you're saying, hold on, you're saying Ashy, Harry Sheasel, and Moddy.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to say, it's a hard one. And I just want to be different to you, but I have to agree with Ashy. I think the other two that I'm going to mention were closing the gap a little bit, but I think his last couple of games have been, the one before the one on the weekend against the Eagles, he was outstanding, unbelievable. So I think Ashy. I reckon second will be Mitch Owens from St Kilda. I'm going to say Mitch Owens because the games that I've seen, mate, I reckon he's going to be a star, absolute superstar. Mitch Owens, and I think toss up between. It's a hard one because Jai Amiss, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, from Freo. He's had some real strong games. He's been good against us both times, but Harry Sheasel's body of work has been really, really he probably a chance to win the North Melbourne Best and Fairest. I'm probably going to say Sheasel. So I'll go Ashy, Owens, and Sheasel. They're my 3.
Don't mind it.
Coleman medal.
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue. I'm going to say...
I know it's not votes, obviously not votes, but yeah. I'll say mine because I'll let you have a little look to see what you think. Right. But I think, and I'm hoping Naughty or someone like the Bulldogs can come late, but I guess to kick a bag. But I think Taylor Walker
Texan
will win. Yep. I think Charlie Curnow is going to hang in there, especially with now Harry Mackay unfortunately not being available for the rest of the season. Well, the regular season, that is. Praying that he gets better. And I'm going to say Charlie Cameron makes a run real late and starts kicking heaps.
All right. Well, I've got mine. I'm going to go Charlie Curnow's going to win now because Harry Mackay's out and they're just going to give it to him all the time. And the Blues are going well at the moment, which is good to see, especially after we talked about him early in the year and all their fans getting around him or hating on him, really. So I'm sure those fans are getting around him now when they're playing some good footy. But Charlie Curnow's my number one. Tex Walker will be second, and then Joey Danaher for third.
Okay.
We're going to get him up there.
Okay. Not too dissimilar from mine. Not bad. Two more. Surprise. I was going to say All-Australian captain or something, but I don't want, I genuinely believe, this is what I genuinely believe from being around, obviously now this is my 12th season. I don't think the last, maybe month of footy really matters for the All-Australian selectors. I think up till round 18, 19, or in this case 20, because 21, 20, there's 4 more games after that. I reckon they've got it in their mind who's getting picked. Maybe there's 1 or 2 that might surprise it, and that's probably rightfully so because the body of work that's been put in. I want a surprise All-Australian. I want you to give me a surprise All-Australian.
One that just off the top of my head is Dan Houston from Port Adelaide.
Oh, my God.
That's one for me.
Actually read my mind.
Oh, really?
That's who I had, Dan Houston. Way to ruin it. I had Dan Houston.
There you go.
Yes. Okay, well, I think I had Dan Houston. I'm going to think now off the top of my head because I actually had 2 Port Adelaide players. I was trying to think of a team that's going well and, who doesn't really get spoken about. One, I think, from Port could be Jeremy Finlayson.
Yep.
And I know it's hard because it's a forward line position and there's so many good forwards, but I look and I think he's going to end up being the leading goal kicker for Port Adelaide. They're going to finish either first or second. And, yeah, that's a pretty good season. And he's a pretty handy player, Jez Finlayson, when he's up and about. So Dan Houston was my initial answer, but I'm going to roll with Jeremy Finlayson.
What about someone like just singing off the top of my head again, like a Brian Myers?
Oh, yeah, he was definitely someone I thought of, but I don't think it'd be too much of a surprise because he's been playing unbelievably. Like, if I was picking my Australian team as a forward, it'd be hard to not have him in there because doesn't he lead like goal assists?
He leads score assists, yeah, but he doesn't kick as many goals. So the stat isn't there for goals probably, but it's there for goal assists or score assists. So I feel like everyone would overlook him in that regard, but they shouldn't overlook him because he's setting up all these scores. So he'd be another one for me.
You know what? I'm just going to throw it out there because I don't think he ever gets in the squad, which is just blows my mind. Tom Liberatore. Yeah, he never gets in the squad. He wasn't even in it last year. It's unbelievable. But yeah, he's just a little teammate of mine that hopefully he gets in there. And last one, top 3 in the Brownlow.
Oh, it's got to be Dacos. Yes. It's got to be Dacos.
I was waiting for you to try and say something because I'm going to say that.
Dacos, Butters, and who's another one? Lockie Neal.
Dacos, Bont. Only just, I think, because Dakes is playing the way that he's playing, so it's just penciling in 3 votes, and that's what we're talking about. But people, they're not forgetting how well Bont's playing, but he's been, as good as he was 2 years ago in that year where he came second to Ollie Wines. And he's a proven vote getter, so I'm going to say Bont second. And I'm going to say either Zach Butters or not Jordan Dawson, Tim Taranto. I'm going to say Tim Taranto. They're my 3.
All right.
It's a nice little segment that we can do, and we can address it at the end of the year when we know maybe on our last episode. But any other footy talk you want to talk about before we move on to our Start Bench Cut, which we've got 2 this week?
Yeah, no, let's move on to it because I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be good.
Tennis. So we've got Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Novak Djokovic. Start Bench Cut.
All right, I'm going to go first. Starting the Fed Express, starting him. I'm benching Djokovic and cutting Nadal.
Oh, this one's going to end pretty quick because I agree with you pretty much, but just for the sake of it, I was always going to start Fed. Love Fed. He's not only my favorite tennis player, but one of my favorite athletes of all time. I'm then going to say I'll bench Rafa and I will cut Novak.
You're only saying that because I said you just want to be opposite and you just want to stir the pot. So
no, I'm not. I'm not.
We can just move on to the next one because I know that you know exactly what I'm thinking.
I'm saying that if it wasn't for injury breaking Rafa down, that in his prime, absolute prime, you've got one game, Novak versus Rafa. You've got one game in their prime. I'm going to take Rafa over Novak, and I'm going to choose the clay court.
Oh, yeah. On the clay court. Yeah, good. All right, fair enough. You can have that. I'll let that one slide. Let's get the funny one.
That is a hard one. I'm interested to see what people say for that one. The funny one, this was sent in by Will_Warren_8 has sent this in. So it's a food start bench cut. Hot chips, pizza, steak. And when I say steak, it's your choice of steak. So you choose the steak, you're choosing the pizza, and you choose whatever hot chips you want. So I'll let you answer first.
Okay, I'm going to start steak. Like the best steak you can imagine.
Well, I'm starting steak. Freaking Wagyu.
I'm going to say like a really good like ribeye or something like that, like Scotch fillet. I'm not going Wagyu. I'm staying in mainstream kind of steak areas. But starting steak, I'm going to bench hot chips and then cut pizza because I feel like pizza it's got to be really good quality pizza to be like, you know, up there. But for me, I think hot chips is second and then the pizza is third.
Okay. Well, I'm starting pizza. Pizza easily. And I'm talking the $7.95 special from Johnny Boys up the road or whatever you want to call it, where they load the toppings up and they get the cheese and the ham and everything you want. Extra cheese. I'm benching hot chips and I'm cutting steak.
How?
Because I've never ever, I love this. I've never really been a steak man. I don't mind it. You give me double, like extra fried hot chips, because this is how I want the hot chips. I'm talking like double fried hot chips where it's super crunchy. Every chip is crunchy. That beats a steak out every time. And pizza and steak, not even in the same ballpark, mate. Pizza is a mile ahead of steak.
Oh, nah, I'm complete opposite to you. Complete opposite.
Nah, give me my favorite kind of pizza is a Hawaiian pizza with extra cheese. Pineapple on pizza, actually. That's another one. Do you have pineapple on pizza?
Yes.
Oh, well, there you go. We agree on that. But a Hawaiian pizza with extra cheese, one. Double fried hot chips. And I know as I'm saying this right now, Righto, who's always in the air, would be laughing his absolute head off. Double fried hot chips. And steak is last.
You know why I reckon you like pizza so much? Because you watch those shit YouTube videos of ASMR or whatever it's called of people just eating pizza and chips all the time.
No, I actually don't watch that anymore.
Yes, you do.
One. I cannot wait to see again what our viewers say. But well done on the start bench cut. We're going to finish with questions. Thank you for everyone for sending them through. We've got some. I had some ripping questions sent to me. I mean, I've saved that many. I don't even know where to begin. I'm going to start with a really good one. This actually made me think, but I want you to. This is obviously for you, not for me. Yeah. So this is from the kid_MGS. He said, if you could go to 2030 for 10 minutes, what's the first thing you're Googling?
2030 for 10 minutes.
So right now, you're going to wake up and for the next 10 minutes, it's 2030. So you've lived 7 years of your life. What's the first thing you're Googling?
To find out, or what do you mean by that? I don't know.
Yeah, to find out, mate. I'll tell you what I'm Googling. I'm going to jump straight onto my Wikipedia page and see if I won a premiership, because that's what I want to win, a premiership.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know. I'm probably just, I don't know. I'd do the same thing, or I don't know, Google like something new that's come out or something good. I've got no idea. That is one of the most random questions I've heard.
This is a good one. This is from Maddie, 157113. What's the best dog breed?
Cavoodle.
Is that because Arch, or you generally, they're your favorite dog breed?
Nah, I think anything cross a poodle is really good. I feel like those kind of dogs, because they're very bubbly and stuff. So I've got a Cavoodle in Archie, as you said, but I think anything cross poodle is really, really nice and good fun.
I mean, mine's a simple one, my Husky and my Golden Retriever, but my favourite dog breed growing up was always a Husky. What'd you say?
I said you got to pick one. You can't just say, oh, my two dogs. You got to say.
Okay, can you tell me who do you think I'm choosing?
You're definitely not choosing Sonny. You're choosing
You're
Griff.
right. You know me too well. Choosing Griff. Griff's my boy. Griff's my husky for what it's worth. So,
all right, I've got one here.
okay.
It's good to see that the great man Aaron Norton's writing into our questions. He's like, "Where's the calf tape?" For those that don't know, calf tape is taping that you put on your calf when you might have a small tear, and Naughty's had plenty of those, and you've had plenty of those, Adzi. So he's asking me where the calf tape's at. So thanks for that, Naughty. But I'll find another question in a second. Just wanted to get around him because he actually wrote into us, which is nice. Yeah.
I had a couple little funny ones. Your brother asked me what my favourite order from Max Brenner is. And from what it's worth, it's the Italian hot chocolate, which is a little bit thicker. There's a little bit more chocolate in it. So for those who haven't been to Max Brenner, the Italian hot chocolate.
Yeah, they were talking about it before I came on. They were like, ask, because Lara's here as well at the moment, and they were like, ask Adam what Max Brenner is or whatever it's called. I was like, what is that?
You got one for me, mate, or you want me to ask?
I've got one from L_SCH64. Would you rather cry tomato sauce or sweat honey?
Oh, I do both quite a bit. So I'd probably say sweat honey.
Sweat honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd sweat honey.
Get a bit peckish, go toast some toast and just wipe it on your sweat and have some honey. What do you reckon?
I don't mind that. I'd definitely go that. I'm not a huge fan of tomato sauce anymore. Used to love it. But go to Macca's meal from Felicity Archer.
Oh, I'd have an obvious answer straight away if you asked me Hungry Jack's or KFC, but Macca's. I'd probably say I always get the thick shake. I love the thick shake. So I'd get a strawberry thick shake, and I would definitely get chips. So I don't order the meal. I always order things separately because I just want to be weird like that. So chips,
yeah, you're weird.
I reckon I'm getting a couple hash browns because I have no doubt after we've played and we've gone through Macca's at midnight, we've got hash browns. And I don't know. That's pretty much it. I'm not a big fan of the burgers.
For me, it's definitely hash browns. So I always get hash browns. I get a vanilla thick shake. I'll get chips and I get nuggets as well because I share it with the family. If the family are here, we all share it. We give Archie a couple. He always knows post game. He knows when I'm kitted up in my Lions kit or Dogs kit for nuggets last year. He knows that he's getting nuggets at night, so he waits up for us. And when we get home, he's scratching the door and he's ready to go. So give him a couple of chicken nuggets, which is he loves.
I've got a good one. This is actually a really good one. I'd love to know yours. This is from Anthony Colangel. Anthony.Colangel. What are the 3 most used apps on your phone?
Oh, how do you tell?
I think you go to your screen time in settings and
screen time
in your settings, and it tells you
most used. I've got it. Yep.
So my number 3 is YouTube.
What?
Yeah, always watching YouTube.
I told you watch ASMR. People
ASMR food. Because my answer will be number 1. Reason why I'm on YouTube. Number 2 is Safari, so I go on the internet. And my number 1 used app is the Sleeper app, NFL Fantasy. NFL Fantasy Sleeper app.
Disgraceful.
That is why I'm on YouTube.
That is disgraceful. I don't like
what is yours?
At all. Number 3 is Instagram.
Yuck.
Number 2 is Messages.
Oh, yeah.
And then number one, as you can probably tell, I've moved to a new town, so I'm using Google Maps.
Oh, Google Maps or Apple Maps?
Google Maps. This is just a joke. We should put this poll out to our loyal fans and ask them what they use more. I'd be very surprised if it's Apple.
Okay, so I'm Apple Maps, everyone, and he's Google Maps. So send us through. We're blabbering on here. 2 more questions each. 2 more questions.
This is a good one because it's relevant to us, but also you don't understand the enormity of this. Premiership or Olympic gold medal? Which would you prefer?
Wow. It's so hard to choose because, I mean, I know what you'd say. I've won a premiership. I'll just win the gold medal. Lucky you. For someone like me who's lost 2, I'm going to say premiership. But it's a hard one because I can see why a gold medal would mean so much because you might only get 1 chance at it.
Mm.
So in terms of the enormity, I'd probably say the gold medal's probably, I don't know, is a little bit bigger. But I want to personally win an AFL premiership more. You?
Oh, yeah. I think, as you said, Olympic gold medal is huge. It's a good question. It's actually from Sasa Latus. There you go. Great question.
All right, I've got two more. Second last. What's something you can do that dunks can't and vice versa? Something that came to my mind straight away is I can do a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, I know you can. You've showed me that.
You can't say something stupid like drive a tractor and freaking throw the hay bales out and milk a cow and all this crap. You can't say that. You got to say something proper.
What do you mean? What's wrong with that? That's a thing that you can do that. So
there's not many people that can do that. Where I don't think there's many people that can do Rubik's Cubes.
What about like something like change a nappy?
Well, you can't do that. Catch Georgie's vomit.
Yeah, catch Georgie's vomit. What can't you do? There's nothing you can't do.
He really has to think. I love it.
Because you just, whatever it is, you just try to do it so you can do it. But I was just going to say something like cricket or something, but you think you're pretty good at cricket. But
I'm not as good as you. I'll be the first to admit that. But we'll move on from that one. That was more for my laugh.
You always do things. You always pick questions that you just know that I'm going to be pretty average at, and it's just going to make you look good. I love it. I've got a lot of questions here asking when you're going to come to Brisbane
for a holiday. Yeah, not too far away. Yeah. I've got one more question. There's two questions, but there's one more.
Okay.
That I really want to ask because this is a good one. You need to think of this off the top of your head. Craft a netball team using AFL players. This is from Terrence_Lambs.
Defensive end, someone really tall. Someone like Mason Cox.
Okay. Mason Cox.
Yep. Goal defense, someone agile. Or defender. I'm staying with Collingwood. Someone like Jeremy Howe.
Love that. Okay. May as well name the whole spine of Collingwood.
No, I'll change it up now. Wing defense. Lockdown, can attack a little bit.
Braden Maynard?
No. I'm going to go with someone like Bailey Dale.
Okay.
Centre, Adam Treloar.
Come on, I'm in the team.
Wing attack. Someone offensive. Zach Bailey.
Yep.
Goal attack, Charlie Cameron. And a goal shooter. I want someone really tall around the league. Who's really tall? Someone like a Sammy Darcy.
Ooh,
someone like real tall. Or Timmy English. There you go. Beautiful.
Okay, well done. That was my last question. Do you have any more before we wrap it up?
Nah, it's all good. Oh,
well done, mate. It's been good.
One where we had to wing it a little bit, mate, but it was good. It's been a nice little episode for us, mate. Look forward to the next one already.
Me too, mate. As always, make sure everyone jumps on the Ausmerican Aces channels everywhere you can find us. You got to keep rating us because we're only 100 or so views away ratings away from giving away an enormous prize giveaway that we've got planned. Make sure you jump on also as well and check out the merch. We haven't got ours yet. I mean, we've been in the Tommy for it, but hopefully we can get
There's only limited stock.
Exactly. Limited stock. Hopefully merch soon. As I said, keep rating. We're loving it. And it's been a great episode, as you said. And look forward to next week, mate. And good luck this round.
You too, mate.